All right, I think we are set. Hmm? Oh. All right. Good morning. Which one is the browser we want? That is this one. Good morning and welcome. Thanks for watching. Anyone who's watching, if you are new and don't know, my name is Tim. First of all, thanks for checking this out. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord, and I usually stream around this time each week, Saturday mornings around 10 a.m. Central Time, working on stuff related to CircuitPython. If you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more about it at the main project site here, circuitpython.org. It is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Usually the way this works, you plug it into your computer with a USB cable. It shows up like a thumb drive. You can save some Python code files on that thumb drive, and then when you edit the main file, it will interpret and execute the Python code inside the little computer that's on these chips here. So that is the high-level version of what I work on. There's obviously a lot of other surrounding stuff that goes into this, guides and projects and infrastructure and libraries and all kinds of things. That back down, I think. Excuse me. Got some coffee ready here. So this morning, well, actually, let's also say thanks to Adafruit. Adafruit makes CircuitPython possible by paying the team of folks who work on it. CircuitPython is an open source project. Anyone's allowed to use it. You're allowed to port it to your own hardware. You're allowed to put it on devices, you know, and sell them or whatever kind of business, commercial stuff you want to do with them. They are targeted more towards education and hobbyist side of things. So, you know, it's not necessarily guaranteed uptime or anything like that. But the hardware is out there, the schematics are available, all the code is open source. All of that stuff is really cool. Adafruit makes it possible by paying people to work on it. If you want to help support them in CircuitPython and all of the rest of the open source hardware and software that they support, one of the easiest ways to do it is by purchasing hardware from them on their website at adafruit.com. You can get microcontrollers like I was just talking about that support CircuitPython. You can also get all sorts of other things to connect up with your microcontroller to build interesting projects and stuff from. So huge thanks to them as always. Huge thanks to everyone who does purchase from them to help keep this whole thing rolling. So I'm getting right back this week to something I started a couple weeks back, which was these request tests. I'm going to try to wrap this up. I think we're pretty close, but we may have a couple of tricky things to try to solve still. So I think... I don't remember the exact PyTest command. Okay, so you just give it the location, and then if you want to do an individual test, it's : and the function name. One of the tricky bits I think we're going to have here, though, is this server, I think, is keeping hold of the port that it's using. For longer than we need it to, like after these things are called in particular, and we wait an extra 2 seconds. I wonder if there's not some other Pocket server, but that's as server. I think those should cover all the like put down, clean up type stuff. Get rid of the free the port basically is what we really need. I think that if we were to try to just run Doesn't like to autocomplete. Oh, I think if we were to try to run this one, it might fail some of them because when multiples of them have this thing, I think that they are going to not be able to start the second time. That's what happened here. More like, I mean, it would be connection refused if it failed to start. So I guess if we see more further up here, probably we would expect files complex. Is that one that uses not? URL. I kind of wish there was not this extra layer of like what URL are we using here. So this is a test, which is a function which has all of these arguments, one of which is post URL. But isn't this a test? Doesn't this get started by PyTest? In which case, like, what arguments get passed to it? How is that controlled, and how is it really better than having the URL right next to test? Empty or too long? So, post, yeah, failures test. So it's trying to run this as a test, but what would it be passing to that? And like, is it? Oh, like this function. Right, okay, so we discovered this last time, actually. You remember this now. And it gives us one place to change them all, but I don't... If it was just a variable, it would also be one place to change it all. And then it wouldn't show up as an argument when we're not, like... It doesn't ever change. It's always the same thing. I don't know. An argument feels weird to me for this, but I don't do a lot of PyTest code stuff. Maybe this is like a design pattern that's common there. Like if there was manipulation here, if you needed to build this dynamically somewhere, then a function is super nice for that, because you could do that inside of here with some Python code, but I guess it's just a string anyway. It is weird that it... Well... Okay, so actually, that means any test that has this argument needs this. Otherwise, it will fail, because that server will not be running. And that complex one did not have this, so it is going to fail because the server's not running. Okay, that was the last one. We just missed it on one, it looks like. So then, was there more to that, or was that the only reason that failed and it just printed a roughly the same error a bunch of different times, basically? Okay. That time it passed. And all of them passed, which means that it was able to navigate the starting and stopping of the server, which is fascinating, because when I was running it as I was running the tests individually, it's definitely having a problem where I would run one, it would succeed. I would run the next one, it would fail because it couldn't start the server because the port was already in use. And I'd wait like, I don't know, 30 seconds or whatever, a little while, and then try again and it would work. Let's see how this would be doing anything different. Maybe it's better at killing anything that it started, I guess. Okay, so the other thing we should do, though, is there are some other tests, I think, that use this local server. Can we find usages of this? Hold Shift F7. Sounds convenient, but I probably would not. 7. Real call test, there's some of these. This one would need it using localhost in one set of 127. It's not using that thing here either, although it looks like I wrote this one. I'm not super familiar with that pattern, so that's not using it. And that's actually the only one. But is it only doing one thing? No, it's doing a loop of cases which are I folded it. Okay. It's doing a get posts, or it's doing all gets. Fascinating. Sometimes it. Oh no. Okay, so this is so I'm like get. I'm thinking this is get as in the HTTP verb, but it's not. Actually, I think it's a URL. Although it is still interesting that this one also has an object with a URL. Or why that's like that. And it doesn't seem to be getting used anyway. Because here, it's JSON keys index. Actually, it is keys index. Okay, so path index. So path is 0, the URL. Status code that we expect to get, I guess. The text result index. Well, text result. The none blank blank on keys index. Okay, this is going to validate the response, essentially. It's expecting JSON in the response, and it's going to validate that the JSON matches this object here. Okay. Let us move this into here, I think, so that the class and the not wrapper, but well, I mean it is wrapper, I guess, because it wraps. But they call that annotation, yeah. Then here we would just uses, and then we would need func tools, some other stuff back over here. Threading socket server time. Now that just imports the decoration, and then E1 here, and also just import instead of do this. So we can this, rid of these, scooch this back, this happier, and then add this local server. So real call tests. Let's try that one. Test. Oh, .py. Cool. Okay. It is one test with 3 different cases. I guess it would, if any of them failed, it would give you some details about the failure, which would hopefully make it easier to track down which case failed. I think it would, because it will tell you, like, this value expected to be that value, but it wasn't, or whatever, right? So, okay. If we just run test, will it do them all, or? How? Why did we just succeed? Okay. Let's see if we can look into this a little more. TCP, socket server, TCP server. Want like unbind from port something. Unbind automatically. And that's for an exception. Start a separate thread to handle shutdown after some time. But does wait longer? Maybe we should just try 5? Start with? We don't really want a different thread because I don't want it to go on to the next thing, because the next thing is going to try to use the same port. So we really need to like give up the port before we start the next thing. Yeah, totally have this same problem here. But it didn't wait. Should we sleep? Maybe we should sleep before we start the server. So the I mean, maybe this one didn't wait because even the first one failed. But we know 5 seconds is not going to be long enough because it's been longer than 5 seconds now. Stop. Put down instead of stop. Particular port remains blocked a couple of minutes. Reuse adder on the socket. Okay, that's good to know. We have a socket server. Do we have a socket? Yeah, so this one failed, I think, only 3 things. So less of them failed and it waited way longer in between. So that could maybe work, but this sounds a lot better, truthfully. If we can get the socket and do this to it, whatever this is. Socket. What do we set this? Set doc opt. Actually, right here. I wonder if we get rid of this, it still work? Should have tried with them first, but no, failed. Put this one back. I feel like oh no, all of them failed. That didn't matter. Well, but it's before though. I think we're failing. That's not going to work because this has already created the thing. It's going to fail. Well, but we would be waiting on the first one to have that. That they all have that. So maybe we need to just let the system flush the rest of the way where with whatever it's doing. And then maybe it will work after that because then it will always set these to this. Time wait state. Okay, maybe can we try Python socket server? This? Allow reuse address is where? I do not see that in this code. Setting this class attribute to true in this. Oh. We have that? Ooh, we have a class here. Okay. Nope. So I think we would not need both of these. Also, we have a handler, not a server. Handler goes here and server goes here. So that probably was not going to work anyway. So really we need a class that overrides this also. Reusable. Was it address? Address the server that extends that and has this. And then this should be this. Then maybe? Alright, this doesn't type or something. The one thing though is I still don't know, like, presumably the old instances still count. So like if the whatever the time limit is, if it's not up yet, then I think this will still fail, but it shouldn't like set us further back, I don't think. Be able to just keep trying until the old cooldown is gone, and then if this works, it will just work from then on. It seems like it should be. Okay. Better so far? Nice. Okay. And then can we actually get rid of the 5-second test? If we could, second sleep rather. If we could, that would be really nice. This one I think is probably still good to have because it does also take time to start up. I'm pretty sure I discovered this in the past. But removing that 5 seconds would cut off like 20 or 30 seconds out of the total test because I was doing that 4 or 5 or 6 times or whatever. Cool. That is working. Don't need socket anymore. And delete this also. Awesome. So, a couple more things that we want to do, which were mentioned in the issue here, is an option for HTTPS, and one that does a redirect. So I think that deserves, well, honestly, real call test is a bad name for this. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's not so bad. But I think we want more stuff in here. I think we're going to have def test redirect and def test, well, let's say test HTTP redirect. It's the same redirect either way. I mean, theoretically, this is also just testing redirects. I think aside from the fact that we are using it for a upgrade redirect, I believe it also just tells us that the redirects are working correctly. And then HTTPS direct. So we want one test where we get the HTTP version of this URL, and one version where we get the HTTPS version URL. And then get back JSON. It's a list. It has a 0 element in it, text and author with a quote. I think we'll probably just key on the status code. Might as well probably just key on the status code. And we can't reuse this because this is always going here. URL, then response status code equals, should get 200 on this one. I'm pretty sure we should get 200 on this one as well, because I think the request gets handled silently. I think it just requested by test functions. Oh, need this. Although I don't know if we would need that for this one that's HTTP. But what is this? Not like to be lowercase. Put a space. Okay, so let's do those individually. Field call test, : test, yes, correct. Field. .py. Oh, that passed. And then the other one is test HTTP to HTTPS direct. Also passed. Yeah, cool. All right. So now we have done everything that I want to do with this. Let me just get grep HTTP in. No, it's no dot actually. In. Okay, there's a lot more. Samples, I guess, are fine. This one we'll get rid of. It's commented out, but that's in the one that's returning right here. Pre-commit and localize more tests. We're already on a good branch. Build. So this was move decorator to test server. Hi. Use local server. Use decorator in real call test. Add tests for HTTP and direct. Wrong browser. Is that the right number? Still. And this has that allow. Yeah, we need this thing. Okay. And then if this passes, maybe we'll get review from Justin and Anecdata. They're interested. Ooh. Almost out of coffee. Okay. Basically really what I wanted to do there. So let's go back to here. So this, I'll keep an eye on the thing back here. Whoop. Oh wait, this is the issue. Like somebody already replied. I'll keep an eye on this. You can request use afterwards, but go back a little bit to this stuff. Um, change this to birds. Longer Halloween. And believe that birds will have less of a certain type of issue that happened to run into yesterday. Although we are also going to implement a technical measure against that certain issue. Although, it wouldn't have saved yesterday because the author of the post chose not to implement technical measure correctly. But some authors might, so we'll do it because it will save your eyes, perhaps. Critically, be pretty So what I want to find, maybe at some point I'll tinker with using image load instead and see if that changes the way it looks visually. For now, though, I think I'm going to focus on the sort of web API downloading type of stuff. And I think one thing I definitely want to do is I did find that these have like, which is convenient essentially. So media attachments object is NSFW. So in theory, this would help us avoid potential problems. But in practice, it seems like not all posts are tagged correctly, but we might as well respect it for once. I think what I want to do is start doing the rest of the list probably. So this I think we can just get rid of. We're never going to be able to download the image directly. We have to use the converter. We can show the image, that's fine. We don't really need this. This was a one-time thing. This, we're not using file name anymore, I don't think. Of this. How about we go images to show is a list. Image URLs. And then here, let's go post objects tag status media attachment. Well, technically we could get all of the attachments if we wanted. Let's do that actually. So we could say for attach this URL is attachment preview URL, but what we're gonna do is if attachment it's not marked alt only, then we will get its URL and add it to the list. If it is, then we will ignore it. We don't need to print them at it anymore. We could always print the list if we wanted. That should give us a list of images. So from there, kind of just thrown in the middle here. So this will fetch data. At some point I'll do something that makes it not fetch all the time. We definitely want it to fetch once though right now. I do want to get onto the new feed and the updated feed. So that will fetch the JSON, save it there, loop over it, pull out all the URLs. And then basically this part now is going to be in a loop for image URL in that. Weird, but I'm actually going to move that there. Actually, we can't. Hold on. Say image tile grid is none. If PG none, and do this else tg.bitmap. That's not how that works. That. Okay. We only need to append this once. I've kind of just wrecked what I was really trying to do, which was separate this a little bit. So main group we can create all the way back up here. I guess we'll just keep like that, and then main group up. This would actually need to be here. And this we can do back up here. Right in the middle of that though. Okay, there we go. Create a group up there, add it to the display, and then here, create the bitmap. We put it on tile grid. If we don't already have a tile grid, we make a new one. But we're fixing to fix this syntax error right here by moving all this stuff in a loop. So the first time is when we will not have the tile grid, we'll create it, and then every time thereafter, we will just use the same one. For image URL, looping through those, converter URL, replace that, download the image, lister, technically we don't need, but it will show us that it worked. Load up the image in an onDis bitmap, create the tile grid if it doesn't exist. If it does exist, just update its bitmap in Pixel Shader. And say maybe I don't need these, but I'll leave them for now. Okay. While I am thinking about it, I am gonna comment this back out, but not save because I have auto reload on, so it would definitely just run if I save. But what I would like though is the next time I run it, I don't want it to fetch from pixel feed anymore. We'll just keep reusing the same feed again to try to like not keep hitting the same thing when we're really just, we don't need updated data right now. What we'll do is maybe in the final project build in a timer or something that says like every half hour or 10 minutes or whatever makes sense. I don't know how new the, I don't know how fast the posts come on this thing, but every so often you could fetch new data, but then in between fetches you can just keep playing the data you have. We probably ought to we should make an SD card version. So this one's doing saves, which means that for every image, it is going to go to Adafruit.io and get the converted one. And yeah, we do have this going on. I'm kind of crazy. I mean, you can see the bird, though. It is a picture of a bird. No one can take that away from us. It's stretched right now, though. We can... So one of the nice things about this, though, is after the first one, you know, we had a 15-second pause, but we also have this whole time window when these things were going where we had to wait for the image converter in the download. Mostly the download, probably more than the actual conversion. But after the first one, we get to see the previous image during that time. So it's like, essentially, this should just give us a nice little rolling birds picture thing at this point. Yeah, and then what I was going to say, though, is if we do the SD card, it's not, you know, the weird thing about this is it's almost like it has used more colors in the foreground. Strangely, I feel like this post and the bird have like more color depth than this weird MS Paint camouflage in the background. Because these almost look like photograph colors, like it's rusted metal pole. And the bird looks more or less normal. Oh, failed. Memory allocation failed. Uh-oh. What is this? 100K. 13. Need a splash image? Yeah, we could. That would actually be a really good idea. Then it would make the oh, right. I do need to check if I do need to actually figure out if that's VLC. That could be. Oh, use the last saved. Actually, that's a really good idea. We do have the last saved because it's still there. In fact. And that means we can do this even better. Yeah, good idea. Thank you, by the way, Tyler. So we can just go... We could create the first one of these way before this. It still get this. It says at... which is when it's trying to download the converted one. I'm thinking we might still be too big at 640 by 480. Thing is, though, there's PSRAM, which should be more. Just PyCharm. Yeah, let's check that too. Oh, yeah, PyCharm, it won't update until I reset the board. So I'll stop this one since we know what it's gonna do. We don't really need to let it do its thing. Well, and it will go and overwrite this if I let it do its thing. Oh, okay. The background was blurred, which is why we got way less colors, actually. Okay. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, this is 600K. I thought we had PS RAM that would be enough, though, for that. I thought the PS RAM, there's like multiple megs, I thought. Which we would need a contiguous, like, that's still a big chunk. As long as we don't keep too many of them, I thought we would have enough. But, I mean, the other thing that we could do here, though, is we could still just go down to 320 by 240. That's who was here, right? Let's try, yeah, let me finish moving this, actually. Really don't go with this, technically, but... This time we'll never have a none one. Create that. Yeah, and importantly, we did fail. We did run out of memory on the download, not the image load. Can't a stream though? Like, realistically, I don't need the whole image in memory. We should be able to stream it to the disk, I think. These are going to be like download, because we don't do a lot of downloading, truly. I have to run to the... Real fast, we'll be right back. Upload. Not a download. What if we just try Python request download file stream? Iter content. Chunk size. We might be able to use this. Yeah, I guess we could do that. Not sure. Have chunk encoded response? One comment? Sure what that means. Think it applies to us? Let's see what this does. So we should get the previous image this time during loading, which is nice. And we could totally make a an initial loading one that shows the very, very first time you run it if you actually don't have a downloaded one yet. We'll try to fetch the converted. Now, one thing this will do actually though is it's gonna show us the same. It's gonna show us the same one we're already looking at because that was the first one in the list. But that's fine. Really, that's just a consequence of the fact that I stopped it after the first one, and then we added that behavior. I will. Oh, can't set. Really? No. Really? Really? Can't set the bitmap on a tile grid. Oh. Not, hold on. Line 113. That bitmap. That sound right to me, because I think that you can't. I think the error is just worded badly, maybe. I think that you can, but it maybe has to be the exact same size. Though in this case, it should have been the exact same size, because it should have been the same image, theoretically. I'm going to say maybe it has to be the exact same size, and maybe it failed because it wasn't. And just the error message is not entirely clear about that limitation. Let's look more closely. I could have swore that this was possible. A billion bitmaps. Okay, get bitmap. Well, I'm on bitmap, not tilegrid. Duh. Yeah, there's a get bitmap and a set bitmap. Fully set bitmap. What is name? I am very confused. So I was right about the size. It does have to be the same size. So I do think this can't actually be our solution, because sometimes we're going to have images different sizes, because I'm pretty like we're giving both a height and a width to the conversion service. It is fitting the image we give it into that rectangle that we specified. But based on the starting image, the resulting image is going to be different size based on the aspect ratio, essentially, right? If it's portrait, then it's going to still be portrait. It's just going to be a max of 480. If it's landscape, then it's still going to be landscape, but it's going to be a max of 640. So we still can't, we can't actually do this, but why does it not let us anyway? Like, it's not giving us the error that says this. It's giving us an error that's like not even in the code anymore. And the difficult part is I think this is like a generic thing. I don't think we can just search that, because it's going to be like, it's not going to be literally having that string in here. It's going to be on some like test like this sort of thing, maybe where a bunch of the text is not actually in the string. Let's call this. What happens inside here? Okay, smart enough to like get one hop, but not quite over to shared module. I wonder if there's some way I could like make Lion understand that shared bindings and shared module are tied together in this way. You'd think it would be able to find. Does actually have anything interesting in there? No error checking on the side, which makes sense. Usually the error checking is on the binding side. I don't know about that. That's weird. That deserves more. That deserves more investigation. But I don't want to like run myself too far off the rails and into the ditch, because I'm not gonna be able to use that anyway because of the limitation on size. We can't use that. We actually need to make a new tile grid every time. It's a bit of a bummer, but I think it is what we have to do. So again, don't need these. We do need to actually get rid of the old one first. So main group dot remove image tile grid before we override it. Then we override it with a new one, and then we add it back. That. See if that works. And then I am going to try image load here in a minute as well, because I am curious if it gets better. Actually, I can try. Need an HDMI cable, actually. Need an extra HDMI. Not in sequence. Huh? Did I reset it to none somewhere? I did. I reset it to none right here. It's like I'm pretty sure this means the download has succeeded every time though, right? Because I think like at this point we're failing before we show it, so it should mean that we downloaded it successfully using that chunking iter thing. What I was gonna say, if I get another HDMI cable, then I could. There's an extra output on the capture device I'm using. I could run that extra output to another display real fast, and that would give us a look at whether, well, it would rule out VLC as the cause of the way it looks. But might not rule out the capture card itself, I suppose. Although I believe the other port is like a pass-through, quote unquote. I think the idea is that it doesn't get manipulated any. So this time we downloaded the image, but used to have and not a valid image actually. So I'm gonna press reset here and then Control C, stop that, reload this. Yeah. That image is broken. It's only 132 bytes. Does mean it will fail up here as well. What? Where is surround with try catch? I have try catch. Annoying. Where in there used to be surround with try catch. It would just put this for you. And it would put your cursor right here so you could type the type of error too. That, I guess. So I don't know if that. I don't know if that's because it. Yeah, it could have been a GIF, or yeah, I mean, it could have been some kind of format that the conversion thing didn't support in VLC Open Capture Device Advanced setting. Under preferences, capture device. I have open. I've done open capture device in order to get the thing that's like playing here. Well, the list is broken. Killed the playlist. Oh, no, it's just behind stuff. What? Advanced setting. Or is it on? You need to do this anyway? Oh. Wow. I've never looked in here. An input chroma format and video standard both might resolve. Oh, and then there's also this. Oh, that's interesting. Advanced doesn't fit here. I wouldn't know what to put here. That could help though. Aspect ratio. If this is set here, how come it never does that automatically? Of a chroma format and video standard. So I assume video standard is this one. Actually, it says video standard. I have no idea what this thing would be outputting though. I'll check. Well, actually, I can remove the capture card easily, and I don't need another HDMI cable. Yeah, let me. Super easy way to share the results. And unplug this. And yeah, that I don't have an easy way to get it into the stream, other than I could just hold it up in front of my face, but I can't really hold it up in front of my face. I have HDMI cable is 1.5 feet. I can report back whether it looks the same or not. Fine. So it tried to remove it, but it wasn't created. I'm not sure if you can do that. Like video standards not in advanced setting in my version, instead in the one before. Yeah, I'll have to try to look up what. Well, I don't know. Would that be coming from the fruit jam, or would that be coming from the capture device? I guess it'd actually be from the fruit jam. So actually, okay. Yeah, I tried this before. This display doesn't work actually for this. That display really wants large. We did manage to not fail these things, although we are showing the same picture, which is a little bit weird. Split this to where I'll be able to see if it changes. Why is this loop not working? Huh. I think it's updating the display. I don't understand why it wouldn't be though. What's this URL? So the first one should be that. Load it, and then we'll wait for 20 seconds, and then we should get fetching a different URL. And then I guess what I'll do is wait. I mean, it didn't even do the like refresh. That's, yeah, it's Well, they're all failing super fast, actually. Okay. They're just going really fast for some reason. One thing is, I guess if this fails, we should still sleep, that we're not hitting the servers fast. Image converter service limited. Yeah. Good. Get 30 seconds in between. 60. The other thing I could do. I don't know. Show me the status code. Hopefully that will give us a hint as well about we're getting rate limited. Hopefully it's a different status code. Oh, I was gonna say the other thing I could do is start on not 0, so that we could try to figure out if just the next element doesn't work for some reason. Maybe the picture doesn't work. I don't know. This one will give us that 60-second in between, though, so we'll have a lot longer in between. So if it was rate limit and the rate limit is faster than 1 per minute, or if the rate limiter allows 1 per minute, then this one should work. I could slow it down further. We could look at I feel like the Cleveland Art Project does this. I don't know what its delay is. Okay. 200. So it seems to have. I mean, if nothing else, it didn't go nearly as fast. So yeah, I think probably onto something there. Probably just didn't wait long enough after the first one, and then all the rest of them went in succession and failed for the same reason if it was rate limit. There we go. Okay. Did get that. Cool. All right, we might as well maybe just let it go to a third while I look for this. It actually says 5 minutes. 60 seconds if it failed. 5 minutes if it succeeded. Okay. I'll let the third one go so we can see the next bird. And then I'm going to try image. Covering that up, maybe. See it? There it goes. Downloaded. There it is. So the status code actually comes back really fast. Yeah, I guess we could have tried to look at that 132 bytes or whatever. It probably just contained JSON that told us the exact reason for the error. Yeah, probably should have just looked in that. But I think this is looking very promising. Okay. Let me just stop that for now, and then let's do image load. Although, we're going to have the same problem with image load as we had before we were doing the chunked downloads, I think. What's up, Johnny? Nice to see you, my friend. I think that, yeah, we'll try this, but I think it's actually going to have the same problem because I'm going to try to load the whole thing into memory. We could go down, like, let's say that the colors look good this way. One thing we could do is drop the screen size down to 320 by 240, and then also that would drop the conversions down to 320 by 240, which should be a quarter of the amount of RAM. Ish. It'll depend on the aspect ratio of the image. But theoretically, that should hopefully give us enough room to be able to do it. If it turns out that this makes it look good. If it looks the same, then I think we just stick with on-disk bitmap and or keep trying different ways to fix it, basically. There's a source here or an output. Maybe we could do JPEG here and then try JPEG IO or something. I don't know. See collect between removing the old tile grid and loading the new one. Yeah. Probably just do it whether or not we remove, because we did also get rid of the old instance of that. That import itself? But we can just have the files. Yeah. Yeah, they will. Yeah. That's a good point. The files, those file sizes, or those files probably won't make a difference on memory. Yeah, because they still PNG for sure, because image load gives you a bitmap object, I mean, which will presumably take up the same memory whether or not it came from PNG or anywhere else. And JPEG, I'm pretty sure is the same way, although it doesn't use image load, it's got a core module, but I'm pretty sure that core module gives you back a bitmap. So that would probably That would not help memory, I don't think. Although sort of luckily, I guess, or however you want to. Oh, we have. So there's a new number one actually. There's a new post or index 0, as it were. That's interesting. Okay, so we got the other one first. Yeah, that might just be like. I don't know. It is weird because I feel like I've seen better color quality, but I guess it really may just depend on the image, and birds are going to be very, well, nature, photographs of nature is going to be difficult for it to do. Although in this case, like, it actually did pretty good on the stuff that's not blurred. Stuff that's blurred is where it really got a little janky looking. Is this using on-disk bitmap? Don't get to know because it's inside fetch. Okay. Okay. So I will try it on a display. The display that I tried it on, I forgot it was never going to work on that display because it doesn't like the like small 640 by 480 output. It wants like 720p or 1080p. It wants like big things. But that was actually never going to work. The pass-through port on the capture card, I think, is going to have the same issue if I try it with that display. Really, I think the easiest thing for me to do will just be to try it on the little display that I have, or I could try. I have this TV over here, which does work with the Fruit Jam. Might still help load image, like load faster. You mean? Push on display map. Or you mean using PNG with those instead? But what I'll do is I will try it on directly to a display. We'll get the capture card and VLC out of the mix so that I can see if it actually looks that way or not on the display. If it doesn't, then I'm inclined to not worry about it too much, truthfully. I may try to jack with VLC. Like, if it turns out that it's VLC doing it, I may try to jack with VLC a little bit to try to fix it, so that I could get a good screenshot for the guide if it becomes a guide. But realistically, the main guide photo I usually take with the tiny display anyway. So if it turns out that it actually displays fine on the tiny display directly, then I probably won't spend very much time trying to figure out how to fix it. Oh. Oh. I think I actually know what the problem is. Well, not problem, but I mean, I think I know what's making it do that, actually. So, CircuitPython docs environment variables. We are using 640 by 480. This is only 8 bits color. Only 8 bits color. We don't have enough colors. If we want 16 bits color, which I assume will look better color-wise, we need to go down to the smaller display, actually. Yeah. So this will currently look the same on the display, I'm pretty sure, because of the fact that it's using 16-bit color. So I think probably what we do is go down to, well, I mean, we can make the option at the end of the day, right? It's super easy to change. Um, it's super easy to change. But essentially, we get this trade-off of scale down further, get fewer pixels, which means like details like the hairs on the birds and stuff you're not going to see as well. You might not be able to make this kind of scratchy signature out anymore. But the color will look good. Versus here, we get more texture but less color. It's almost just like texture versus color trade-off, right? The texture getting compressed further down is gonna smooth it out or mess it up in some way. Whereas with the bigger screen, you get more texture but less color. Let's verify this theory, though, before I go too far down the road. But I think this has got to be it. From fruitjam.peripherals import request display config. And then request display config. And then this will automatically get filled in here, so we'll actually be getting smaller image files as well. And because we are in the smaller size, it should default to 16-bit color, I believe. The initial one might be messed up. Yeah, I was gonna say it's only gonna show us the top, only gonna show us the top corner of that. But when it downloads, when it hits the converter again, the next one will be correct, and all the ones after that will be correct. And we can actually see the colors, I think, are better. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is way better. Even, honestly, even the texture is still pretty good. The blur looks like way better. No longer looks like, what did I call it last night? I think MS Paint. Like a bird in the blur right here too, which is kind of interesting. MS Paint camouflage is what it reminded me of the other way. All right, let's check out a couple more of these. I think this is the way to go, though. Yeah, this looks way better, honestly. I honestly, the big screen, the 640 by 480, that's really best for text. Like, the main upside to that is you can fit more text on it. Secretly, I'm really glad that VLC isn't the problem. It's been a staple diet power. Yeah, no, like, even, I mean, frankly, like, I love VLC. Even if it was the issue, I'm still, like, not that mad about it. It has provided me with more than enough usage for the amount of money I paid for it, which is 0 because it's a free open source thing. It's like really good at what it does, honestly. Even if it was the issue here, it's still like I have no issue with VLC. I'm pro VLC all the way. I was talking about this the other day with my wife because she's thinking about switching to Linux, and we were making a list of programs that she wanted to be able to have. Video player was on there, so we got to talking about VLC, and I was also bringing up the picture of the guy with the picture of the guy with the cone hat. Like, there's a meme about him keeping it free or something that's set to the picture of him with the cone hat, which I always think of when I happen to see the icon. And yeah, no, I'm like all in on VLC. I'm happy about it. Open source software. I'm big on open source software, even if it's not as good as some other fancier thing. Like in every single way, the fact that it works, it does what it says. It works for, like, in my case, all these different hardwares. Like I'm using it for the capture card. I'm using it for the DVD player that I have, which is like traditionally sort of like I have a nightmare on Linux to get different hardware connected and actually working, but it's like, yeah, point me to the thing. I'm good to go. All right. Yeah, these definitely look way better. I was worried the smaller ones you might not be able to like that the fur and the fuzz here would get like blurry. I mean, it's like maybe a little, but you can still totally, it still totally clocks as kind of tiny individual hairs, right? It's not like we don't lose all detail. We can still do this as well, and then this will be, up to the upscaling in the program and in the graphics card, but that looks pretty good, honestly. This bird is like next to a ramekin or something, or if that's a water dish, or if it's actually just like chilling next to a person eating some chicken strips or something. Nice. Okay. Yeah, and the colors on this one's way better as well. You can even still see some of the like shimmery green stuff going on with the necks of the pigeons there. I think those are pigeons. Bird, not a bird spotting person though. I could be wrong, but got like a little metallic-y sort of shimmer green action going on the back of the neck there. And all the rocks and everything still look really good, honestly. And like this patch, I was worried about a little bit. This thing, but this is a bit tough. But honestly, it was a bit tough even in the big picture. I don't read cursive so well, truthfully, like signatures and stuff. Imagine a person who's better than I am might still be able to make it out with enough like staring and thinking about it. Oh, that's volume. Interesting. Okay. Oh, unsupported. 422. What is that? Is that a rate limit? That's a... I think this is the page I want, but it's also probably good to actually do what I wanted. I'm trying to search for this to make sure that it's actually still this thing, because I like using this thing. Best status code in existence, right there, 418. It's my favorite one, at least. Unprocessable. That's weird. Let me... That's the one that failed. It is massive, I'll say. I don't know. Is there any chance that there is a file size limit also? 1.7 megs, I guess. I mean, it's big for a picture, but not big for a picture. Like, modern smartphone will take pictures bigger than that pretty easily. Interesting. So maybe is the image converter documented? I feel like it's not, right? Or not very much. Definitely not. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that because it's not. I don't know that it's like really part of the public ended thing necessarily, right? I think it's mostly used internally for this publishing image stuff, and it just so happens to work in such a way that it can work from client side code as well. And then this project made use of it, which is how I learned about it, this Cleveland Art one. Maybe there's like a... I wonder if there's a size limitation, like that image that that it failed on was definitively portrait mode, and we asked for 320 by 240. Maybe it refused based on the fact that it would be tiny. It might make it into blocky actions, and it's semi-protected but currently undocumented. I gotcha. One was this? So we did 1, 2, 3, 4 successfully, and then the 5th one was the one that failed. I'm gonna use... Okay. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4 successfully. The 5th one failed. So 4 successfully. So L... this? 3, 4 successfully. Start on the 5th. Yeah. I'm going to try to tease out whether that one just doesn't work at all, or if it was just transient thing. Like maybe that happened. Like it would be weird for it to return that for the rate limit, but maybe. I don't know. Try that one more time. And then if it's the same error, we'll know that that just doesn't work. Recorded image. Right. Okay. So what we could do actually is check this time whether it does have JSON or something useful in it. With open saves downloaded image BMP read bytes, I guess, because technically it should be binary, but I'm expecting probably text, truthfully. Print f.read. Request failed. Okay, yeah, it just says, doesn't really tell us why, just that it failed. Okay. Save on GitHub anywhere. Size, same aspect ratio. Save on GitHub or anywhere. Resized. The same aspect and another aspect ratio for the fruit jam. Put 4 here, so this will start on that one, but it fails early. Okay. Interesting. So on disk bitmap raises a value error when there is an unsupported type of image, but image load seems to raise a runtime error in the same situation. I would sort of argue they should do the same thing, but they don't currently, so I will make this code. Theoretically, that should help. Okay. Tuple maybe doesn't like a set. A weird way to heard the fact that it doesn't like the set, because it's not really tied to the runtime error so much as it is set, I think, but I think it probably failed again because it was so fast here. Oh, actually, we know it failed because we got the status code printing. Duh. So what we could do is in the code, we could check for that status code and not try to show the image. I mean, at this point, we're catching the error, so it doesn't matter that much anyway. Just gonna go on to the next one anyway. We could make sure the status is 200 before we download it. That's actually probably a smart thing to do. And if it's not 200, we could print the content of the response so that we could see the error in the serial. Only download if it is actually successful. It's not, just print content again, because it's like theoretically binary content, but I think it's going to be JSON most of the time, just like we saw a minute ago. All right, and we know that 4 is not going to work. I don't necessarily think we need to start specifically on 4 again. Could test that code works, but honestly, I imagine we will eventually find another one anyway. Ouch. All right, that one was 200. This, though, having it not download the image when it's not a 200 will be nice, because that will mean if it fails and you stop the program and restart the program, you still have that old image, which means that code we put before where it loads the old one will take effect. So it'll save you from having a blank for that next run in the event of an error like that. I don't know, for some reason, it just seems like the converter doesn't like that one. I don't know if it's because it's portrait, or if there's some other reason that it might not work. But it seems to be the case that it just doesn't work with that image. What was I just gonna look at here? Oh, right. I'm gonna look in here. Oh, that's interesting. I feel like, is that not the same one? Well, okay, so I did loop over the attachments. Maybe we found a second attachment to the same post. Yeah, I'm guessing that we probably just got the second attachment of the same post, and it just happens to be 2 pictures of the same bird from mostly the same angle. It might have like changed slightly. Maybe it's bigger, or maybe it's like a slightly different angle or something. But it is mostly the same as the previous picture, I think. But has a different URL at the very least here. Z998 versus this one's different. So, is there a size in here? Yeah, I have them all pulling, is that true? I think I have them all pulling preview, technically. Yeah, preview URL, which is sometimes a thumbnail, but the thumbnail, on the one I saw at least, the thumbnail was like 640 by 640. Yeah, it does have thumb in the file as well, that's true. Here it does as well. On the one that I saw, though, that thumbnail was still like 640 by 480. Or, I mean, 640 by 640, actually. Square. Some of these are definitely not square, though. But, and then what I was getting at, actually, was last night, when I started looking through more of them, that they were the same image. Like, the thumbnail was the preview, which is what this API thing calls it. The preview was the same as the main URL. So I think it might be optional, like maybe it depends on which server it got posted on or whatever. Maybe some of them create a thumbnail and some of them don't, or maybe it's up to the user to decide if it does or not. But I figured that if there is a thumbnail, and if the thumbnail is going to be like reasonably big in the terms of microcontroller, still 640 by 640, for instance, is still big enough that like we still need to go down some. Then I figure it's best to just use that. And then for some images like that, this big one here, we still requested preview URL, but clearly on this one it was the same as the main URL, because this is definitely still just regular image sized essentially. There totally is a size here though, so we can maybe do some sort of like, if it turns out that the portrait ones, like if it is as simple as the portrait ones don't work and the landscape ones do, then we could like have our code check this first, and then we could save a request to the image converter. A lot of these actually end up being portrait here towards the bottom. Oh. Birds in the snow, even. Cardinals, maybe? Brown ones? I don't know. I don't remember if that's male or female. We get cardinals in the winter here. I don't know, though. I mean, a lot of these are portrait, and we haven't failed that many. I don't think it's as simple as... There's actually height and width as well. I don't think it's as simple as... Portrait doesn't work, but there might be a limit. Like, if the aspect ratio is too far portrait, you know, too far, whatever that's defined as, maybe that's when the converter doesn't do it. But it is working pretty good, and we can always have fallbacks in our code here to try to guard against it, so that we can hopefully only attempt to convert images that will work, and at the very least only show and download images that will actually work. We can save ourselves from downloading them. We can make it so that we always have one to show, which is good. All right, I think I am gonna head out for the day. We got... Oh, stretch it. Okay, we got the requests done. Anybody ever back in here? No, not yet. I got that done, which is good. I've been meaning to wrap that up. And then I have this code pretty much working more or less how I want. So if it's gonna end up in a guide, it'll get cleaned up some, it'll get commented some more. Possibly I'll convert it to use fetch like the art one does, the Cleveland art one, since we saw this was actually using fetch. So maybe this will be maybe this would be a good one to actually use the library for instead of request directly, but we need the chunk download still. I don't know, we'll see. It ended up taking only the first, yeah. We actually know we should be doing multiples. It should grab every file, I think, right? So yeah. So when we build the list of image URLs to show, we loop over all of the posts, and then within each post, we loop over all of the attachments. So if there is a post which has more than one image, you know, attachment, they call them, we will get all of them. We also have this check as well to try to prevent the same issue that we ran into yesterday. Although it turns out this is not always set either, so this would not have saved me last night. It was set to false on that one way, so fortunately I think the moderation maybe is not... Like, I think this is probably an inherent risk with these open federated servers where it's like different posts exists on different servers and get pulled in and kind of shared around. There's not, I mean, I don't know what the moderation tools are like, but in my head, it doesn't seem like there could be a very effective moderation situation for that, like recourse for stuff that gets posted in the wrong category or whatever, right? Like, but in any case, yeah, we do get all the attachments. I do my best to filter out bad stuff. And it will probably, like that one black crow or whatever that was we saw a bit ago, it will probably lead to you seeing maybe two pictures. Like occasionally you'll see 2 or 3 pictures that are maybe the same subject. Because I did see some of the posts are like, you know, it's pretty clear the photographer was like, you know, click, 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 click. And then it's like they post all of them and you could see like minor variations from shot to shot or whatever. So did this die or did it actually? Got a 420 there. I mean, a 422 there. So is this one also portrait or? I'm going to check on this and then I am going to head out for the day. Thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks, Hyeth over in the chat and Johnny. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. This is actually landscape, actually. So it's totally not. It is totally not a problem of aspect ratio. Interesting. It is 1.3 megs, so maybe it's a 1 meg cutoff or something like that. Let's grab one of the ones that has worked really fast and just see, is that over a meg? Yeah, for sure. You too. Good weekend. Over 1 meg? Oh, that's a portrait one, in fact. And that's what we were just looking at. So I think actually the image converter cut the middle of this out, right? Because we didn't see all of that, I don't think. In fact, it's still here, yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. So that's how it handles portrait, is it's actually cutting this out, which is pretty nice for, I mean, assuming the subject is in the center, pretty nice for us. Is this over a meg? That's the thing I was going to check real fast, though. It is not. That one's only 200K. That could be it. Maybe there's a 1 meg. Maybe there's a 1 meg limit. That's possible. In which case we're sort of SOL on those ones. We tried the thumb, you know, we tried for the preview image. It turns out there's not one, and it turns out the main image is too big. Not a whole lot we can do, but all right. I will head off. Take it easy, everyone. Hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Good weekend. I will be back next week for deep dive. Should be around on Friday for deep dive. No, I think there will be probably no Saturday stream next week. Although I won't say that I'm 100% sure, but tentatively I would say probably no Saturday stream next week. Deep dive only, I think. But then I should be back the following week on Saturdays for the foreseeable future. There we have it. Take it easy. So long. Farewell. Toodaloo.